training exercise is how the war on drugs is supposed to be fought and won. Today, it's a well-coordinated effort on the ground and in the air.
Put your hands up! Got any weapons on you? No. No weapons? No.
However, in the actual battle against drug smugglers, critics say the U.S. Customs Service doesn't always come out looking so good.
Slowly, come on up.
An estimated 70% of the drugs coming into the United States are smuggled across the border from Mexico. As a result, the federal government has spent nearly $2 billion trying to stem the flow, using sophisticated technology and thousands of agents. A 2020 investigation has found that many critics think the system has failed to make a serious dent in the drug war. The cost, they think, is excessive, and there are significant flaws in the system that drug smugglers continue to successfully exploit.
The front line of defense in the expensive high-tech drug war depends on the sophisticated radar attached to these balloons known as aerostats. These babies are expensive. Each balloon cost about $20 million to build. The unmanned aerostats are flown at the end of a line at about 10,000 feet and are supposed to detect the aeroplanes of drug smugglers flying past them. The balloons are placed at 12 sites along the U.S.-Mexico border. Their radar information is transmitted to 3 U.S. Customs command centers, this one located in Riverside, California. From here, radar trackers look for suspicious aircraft flying erratically, too low, or without the proper electronic identification system that gives nearly every airplane its own fingerprint. Total cost for the centers, $65 million.
Omaha 25, we have a possible border crosser, squadron VFR, target 155 at 70.
Omaha 25, roger.
Usually, when a suspicious target is spotted, an $8 million surveillance plane is dispatched. Inside the pursuit plane are sophisticated tracking devices, so sensitive we were not allowed to photograph some of them. The U.S. Customs chase plane sneaks up behind the smuggler, literally within a few feet of the target plane, so the pilots can observe and the tail number be identified.
Roger, Lima 25 with number November 6428 Juliet.
November 28 Juliet is text positive.
The total cost for nearly 100 surveillance or chase planes, about $400 million. If the intruder plane is suspected of smuggling, an attack helicopter, a Black Hawk, is dispatched to seize the drug smugglers if they land within the United States.
That 72 and 81 are going to stay with the aircraft? Yeah, stand by.
On board the helicopter are armed customs agents and our 2020 team. The Black Hawk buzzes the suspect's aircraft. In the training exercise, the smugglers land at a small airport in the desert, not knowing exactly what the Black Hawk and its troops will do. Within seconds, the team pounces on its prey. Overall, 18 Black Hawks are used like this one. Total helicopter cost, $105 million.
Well, I think the smugglers think it's a joke because it hasn't caught anybody since it's been installed. I mean, when I was in Mexico, it wasn't even a factor.
Pilot Greg Yoakum used to smuggle drugs through the air interdiction network and then became a police informant.
Well, there's hundreds, literally thousands of mountains, small mountains along the 1,200 miles of border that we have. And it's virtually impossible if an aircraft is flying low enough to be detected by the aerostat program. There's several ways to go across the border, but Gringo Pass is probably the most popular route used. Everybody knows that aerostat does not cover that area. It's blanked out. If you fly low enough and on the west side of the mountains, the radar couldn't pick you up.
Paul Brinkley Rogers and Rich Robertson, reporters from the Arizona Republic, decided to test for gaps in the radar coverage.
We wanted to take an aircraft from Mexico and bring it into the United States as if it were doing a low-level smuggling run. In this case, would have been coming in and pushing a load of drugs out of an aircraft and then hightailing it back into Mexico. We started our flight in a little town called Nogales and then flew basically southwest toward Caborca and then followed Mexican Highway 2 all the way up toward Lukeville, which would have been on the Arizona border.
Brinkley Rogers was watching the U.S. Customs radar while his colleague was in the air. So you were looking specifically at the time you knew he would be flying?
Yeah.
At the scope where he should have been?
That's right.
Nothing at all?
Nothing showed up to indicate that a plane was crossing through that area.
There are a lot more holes in that radar fence than the United States government will admit. So the air is in false advertising. I mean, the emperor has no clothes.
The government maintains it did track the reporters, but so far has refused to produce documentation to substantiate its case. Customs agents have told 2020 there are black holes throughout the radar network, technical failures that drug smugglers know about and use to avoid detection. But when the agents have complained about the failures of the system, they say their bosses have threatened to fire them if they blow the whistle. Independent experts say there are a host of problems, including technical flaws and maintenance schedules, that make it relatively easy to beat the Aerostat system. Ralph Milstead knows law enforcement and drug smuggling. He's the former head of the Arizona State Police.
When you look at that radar, and I've done this, it's hard to determine the difference between a slow-flying airplane and automobile and truck traffic. If you're a drug smuggler, you can see the balloon. The Aerostat sits 10,000 feet in the air. It's 70 feet in diameter, 230 feet long. They wait till the balloon's brought down. The estimates are it's brought down for repair in bad weather, and then they fly across.
In fact, one key aerostat is located at Fort Huachuca, Arizona, in an area called Thunder Mountain, named because of its extreme weather. The balloon is taken down so often because of severe storms, government analysts think it should be moved. Just to routinely maintain these balloons costs $2 million a year per balloon. Anthony Cortesman is a U.S. Senate investigator and defense expert who recently evaluated the Aerostat system.
It's taught the smugglers to be more efficient. The street prices have not gone up. The volume of drugs has not gone down. These balloons operate only about a third to 66% of the time. When they're down, they're usually down for very long, consistent periods. So it's easy to fly in.
There's more. Smugglers say they can beat the multi-million-dollar Aerostat detectors with an inexpensive electronic device that is standard equipment in most planes. It's a transponder, which blinks when the plane is being hit by radar, as our pilot explained.
So we're being interrogated by the radar in Tucson with the approach control there, and probably also by the Aerostat balloon.
Smugglers simply fly around until the transponder stops blinking, and then they know they found an electronic hole in the radar network where they can fly drugs in undetected. The system is so haphazard, even during the training exercise we observed, where the drug plane's destination was known, a little airport named Eloy. The target aircraft was lost several times by the radar network. Listen to the ground controllers talk to the chase aircraft.
Omaha 25, radar contact lost on the target.
Omaha 25.
Besides glaring technical failures, consider these additional problems. Smugglers often work under cover of night. The helicopters cannot force a smuggler to land. An aircraft can be captured only after it lands on American soil. And the U.S. agents cannot chase anyone into Mexico. So most smugglers simply fly across the border, drop their drugs to an accomplice on the ground, and head back to Mexico without ever landing. As a result, even the most optimistic government figures report that only 5% of all narcotics are stopped by the elaborate and expensive war on drugs.